Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled "Company Paid Me for Months After I Had Quit since they didn't realize I didn't work there anymore." When I was in college, I worked for maybe 2 weeks at a clothing store that is well known for their ads with preppy, muscular college guys with no shirts on and pretty girl next door type girls. My roommate worked there, so I got a job there as well. I've never worked somewhere that was as badly managed as this store. I showed up for my shifts the first week and nobody even knew I was supposed to be there or what I was supposed to be doing. They just told me to walk around and fold clothes and never trained me on anything. My roommate and I would leave and shop in the mall. You had to wear their clothing to work there, and when I went to buy some clothes with my discount, the manager, another college girl, told me to just take it as that is what they all do. I am not someone who is comfortable with stealing, so I insisted on paying for my things, which seemingly annoyed the manager. I ended up just not going back to work after like a week or two as the place was such a train wreck. I kept receiving paychecks for weeks after I had quit. I called corporate and tried to explain that I didn't actually work there anymore, but was still getting paid for my scheduled shifts, and they seemed just as confused as I was. The paychecks kept coming. I called multiple times as I was worried they would demand I had to pay the money back when they realized their mistake, and I was getting annoyed by having to keep calling. Someone in corporate told me to just keep them and he would fix the issue. They finally stopped coming after at least 2 months of free pay, and I never did have to pay the money back. Years later, I was married and received a letter from a lawyer in the mail in regards to a class action suit against the company I had worked for all of a week or two, claiming, ironically, I was entitled to money for them not paying me enough. It had something to do with them requiring employees to wear their clothing, which was funny considering I knew those employees had been stealing the clothes anyway. I figured I might as well be included in the class action as I had purchased quite a few pieces of their clothing for my very short time of working there, and to be honest, I was just amused by the whole thing at this point and wanted to see what would happen. I ended up getting a $100 gift card in the mail a while later after I had forgotten all about it. They calculated it based on how long I was paid for my employment there, not by how long I was actually employed there. I was like, man, this store really wants to keep paying me, even years later. They just refused to take the hint that I don't work here, lady. The next story is titled "Old Lady Mistakes Mugger as Employee." I work for a convenience store that has a strict always comply with muggers policy. I think because it's cheaper for them to deal with losing whatever's in the register than fighting a suit from an employee hurt defending it. I've worked here off and on for the last 5 years, and I've been in the store for 6 robberies. They're usually pretty straightforward. Guy comes in, give me the money, we do, they leave, we call the cops don't do anything. We have cameras, but this neighborhood has such bigger problems they never follow up on petty theft. One of those times though, the kid didn't wear a mask. Just a hoodie. Comes in with the hood up, young kid, couldn't have been more than 18 to 20. He paces around for a while, I guess trying to get his nerve up. I figured he was an underage kid trying to work up the courage to buy some beer at first. It was really early in the morning and we were the only people in the store. He approaches the register and says he has a gun, doesn't pull it out, was probably bluffing, and that he won't use it if I just give him money. Talking all tough about don't try anything today, I'm not the one, etc. I pop open the register and he jumps behind the counter to take the money out. As he's doing this, an old woman comes in. Now I was getting really nervous because I didn't want the old lady to be in a dangerous situation, but before I could react, she recognizes the kid. She runs up to him and goes, "Oh Noah. Hello dear, how are you?" And the kid just freezes behind the counter, hands full of cash. She's older and I guess deaf, so she's shouting, "I didn't realize you'd gotten a job. Good for you dear. You know I just saw your mama the other day and she didn't mention it." He's like, "No, I don't," but she isn't listening. "Your mama never tells me anything. I don't work, don't interrupt me, hun. Anyways, your mama never tells me anything." And she's just chattering on, and she starts shopping. I'm just standing there frozen, waiting to see how this plays out, with the guy still behind the register with me. The kid was almost a foot taller than me, and I didn't want to get into an altercation if I could help it. She goes through and she's shopping and she goes, "Noah, hun, could you help me reach this please?" And he's like, "I don't," and she's like, "What are you going to make me beg here?" So he goes over and dead ass starts helping her get things from high shelves. She's like, "Is this really the best price you've got for this?" And he's like, "Yeah." While he's doing this I call the cops. I think he knows I must have been doing that because he's beyond antsy. At one point he tried to bail but she was like, "Hold on, don't clock out yet, I'll just be a minute. I want to see you at work. This is so exciting. You're all grown up." So he's standing there awkward and panicked, trying to make a decision. Eventually she goes to check out, and I scan her items, keeping an eye on him. She goes, "Oh no, can Noah check me out? He's my friend's son. I didn't know I was visiting him at work. This is so exciting." Wanting to keep things cool until she was out of the store on the off chance the kid did have a weapon of some kind or wasn't stable, I just stepped aside and let him check her out. He didn't really know how to use the scanner or anything but he got through it. She leaves. Once she's walked out, he runs out of the store and jumps into a car. He didn't get any money from us. It was another 20 minutes before the cops got there, so it wouldn't have mattered either way. But that was the most memorable robbery for me, as robberies go. Not sure if this story fits this sub, but when I saw the sub I had to share this one. I mean, he technically was working, kind of. Just not for us, haha. The next story is titled "Neighbor Lets Herself In While I Am Home Alone." I apologize in advance for grammar, vocab or typos. I'm on mobile and English is not my native language. The absurdism of this occurrence still has me reeling. However, I felt as though I should share as I find it slightly comical after the initial irritation has already passed. The cast entitled Neighbor, F40s, N, me, 16F, M. I was, to my knowledge, alone and taking a shower, as my parents had gone out to run an errand. I had the window in the shower slightly ajar so I could hear when my parents pulled into the driveway and opened the front door. About 5 minutes later I heard the front door open and shut. My first thought was, oh, my parents are home, and I continued my shower. Foolish as I am, I didn't think twice at the fact that I didn't hear the car pull in. I finished not long after. I walked out the bathroom fully clothed, thankfully, and began skipping to the living room. Then on the couch seated was a middle-aged woman who I definitely did not know, drinking some of my older sister's juice, meaning she had been in our fridge unconsented. I was a bit too stunned to speak, not scared per se, as this woman looked harmless and appeared to be unarmed. I tried to reach for my phone on the dining table to call the police, but she stood up and blocked me. I could apprehend her if necessary. However, this woman easily looked like one of my mother's clients, and my mother has a tendency of letting people over without informing me beforehand, so I thought this could be another instance, so I was not overly concerned. The following conversation ensued. N. You look just like your mother. M. I look nothing like my mother. N. Oh? But you have your brother's eyes. M. I don't have a brother. N. Ah, then you're your father's daughter. M. You would know better than me. I haven't seen him in 5 years. This was false. But I wanted to see if she knew this. N. Who are you? M. That's my question. Why are you in my house? N. Your house? You're a child. Don't speak to me like that. Where are your parents? No joke. This woman really had the audacity to say this. M. None of your concern. Kindly leave before I call the authorities. N. You. What kind of people raised such a snobby bitch? M. Excuse me. Mind your manners in my home. Move aside please. I step around her and brush her with my shoulder as I grab my phone. N begins banshee screaming that I have assaulted her by shoving her aside. I get my phone about to call my parents when I heard the garage door opened. I thank whatever Lord there is and rushed to the door. I run to my dad and started babbling about the strange woman who trespassed into our home while I was showering. Less than 20 minutes later, cops are pulling up to our home and N is escorted to the station. My dad had told her to stay put if she didn't want him to press charges. We then find out she is our new neighbor, and this was her attempt of getting to know us. I am mortified and express my opinion to my dad that he should press charges. N begins banshee screaming again that he said he wouldn't. After a quick look at our home security cameras, our case was proclaimed valid and my dad is pressing charges. I don't know the mechanics or specifics of it all, but I'm happy he took my opinion into consideration. The next story is titled Psycho Lady Assaults My Little Sister. So, I've always read the posts on here and always thought how ridiculous, psychotic people could be. Well, unfortunately for my sister, S from now on, and I dealt with one such psycho bitch, PB. This all takes place last Friday afternoon. For a little background, I have a younger sister who is adopted and is also Colombian. So, compared to me, a pale, curly redhead, whose Irish descent cannot be mistaken for anything else, one can easily assume we have no relation at all to each other. Now, S is also special needs. She is high-functioning autistic and is only really comfortable with our parents, me, and my so of 6 years. S is physically 16, looks 11/12, but is mentally 8 in reality. To the nightmare, I mean story. On Friday, I picked up S from her school. I help out my parents a lot, plus my S is my world. She is fortunate enough that she is able to attend a specialized school that caters specifically to kids with special needs. After I picked her up from school, I had to run to the store known for khakis and red polos. S is wearing leggings with horses on them, her favorite animal, and a red tee with more horses. See where this is unfortunately going. We were in the grocery section and I was grabbing a few things for dinner that night. We were in the pasta aisle, which also means mac and cheese. This so happens to be S' favorite food, plus she loves organizing the boxed and making the rows straight. I'm a couple feet away down the aisle, but still right there and keeping an eye on her, making sure she is okay. Enters psycho bitch. She rapidly approaches S, and my first thought was PB must be in a hurry for something in the aisle. No. I was very wrong. PB, to S. Where is the bread? S. Stares only BC. She doesn't talk to many people and is not okay with being randomly approached. PB. What are you? Deaf? I said. Where is the bread? At this point, PB is getting into S' personal space. Major trigger for her and people raising voices, and I'm already rushing to intervene. Me. Ma'am, S is not an employee, you are frightening her, please leave her alone. During this I have physically placed myself between S and PB. PB, however, doesn't accept this. PB. Ha. You're just covering for this lazy employee trying to avoid work. Me. Attempting to keep my voice as even and calm as possible for S's sake. You need to leave my S alone. Now. You have entered her personal space and continually raised your voice. She clearly is not dressed like an employee and is acting less like one. Furthermore, you need to respect S and no one, worker or not, should be talked to like you just did to a little girl. PB. Well, I never. She is being a lazy retard and needs to do her job. And more racial slurs plus ranting here. I don't remember all she said because I was still keeping an eye on S and was more concerned with her. During all this, S has now hidden behind our shopping cart and is rocking back and forth, while covering her ears. PB, realizing her ranting is not getting S to tell her where bread is, decides the next option is to reach and grab S by the hair. Why she thought this would make a real employee help is beyond me. S starts screaming and I immediately slap PB hand away and remove her from S. PB. How dare you? Do you know WHOIAM? You are a worse employee than that idiot. I'm calling the police. You assaulted me. Me. Go right the hell ahead, idiot. I'd like to see you try. PB storms off to find the manager at this point. I immediately turn and try to calm S down and lay down with her. This helps S, and start to hum a little. She is still upset, but is starting to calm a little. PB returns, sadly, with manager, M, in tow. PB is going on and on about being assaulted and how S and I need to be fired ECT. M. Hello, what occurred? PB is claiming you assaulted her? Me. Actually, she physically grabbed S, and yanked her hair because PB believed S was an employee, despite me saying many times she is not. I had to forcibly remove PB from S' head. So, if you call me defending my autistic sister assault, then go ahead. M is confused as he heard a very different story. PB. It's too late now, idiot. I didn't do anything wrong. You're just mad you failed to pretend you and S don't work here and are now losing you jobs. M. PB, neither of these women work here. You assaulted this girl and if anyone is pressing charges it would be S. If you'd like I can pull up security footage. Now, you can either leave right now, or be escorted by security. That is your choice to make. PB, now getting the picture that she is in major trouble, tried to excuse her way out, but ultimately forcibly removed by security. But not before getting her information. M offers to give us everything we needed as comped, but I was more worried about S and getting her out. So, M gave us gift cards for future trips and I got S back home as quickly as possible. Once home, and after helping S calm down, I called the police and reported PB. The M told me he would provide the footage if needed. I told the police everything that happened, PB's name and information, and that M has footage of the event. For anyone wondering, S is doing well, but doesn't want to go anywhere near the Bullseye store, and is refusing to interact with anyone but me right now. She is having night terrors, but I'm staying with parents and am sleeping in S room with her currently to help S out and care for her. The next story is titled How My Mother Got Fired from a Job She'd Never Had That I'd Already Quit. A recent comment reminded me of the shitty theme diner I worked at in high school. About a week after I'd bugged out of town for college, one of the servers called in sick. The manager on duty forgot I had quit and left town by over 1,000 miles. Since this was before cell phones, she called my home number, got my mother, and demanded that I come in to work the shift. My mother tried to explain that she did not work there, was not me, and I was long gone. This asshat manager was having none of that excuse. She refused to believe my mother was not me and got very threatening about how she needed to come in or she'd get fired from a job I had already quit. Also, I'd never work in that town again, yippee. My mother hung up on her, but the asshat manager called back repeatedly until my mother finally agreed to come in just to make the phone stop ringing as she was expecting an important call. A few hours later, the manager called back to curse her out and fire her for not appearing for her shift. She never did figure out she'd been talking to my mother the entire time. The next story is titled No. I Don't Work Here Dude. I was at my local hardware store minding my own business when a guy came up to me wearing a rather cross expression. Before I say anything, he asks, "Where are your toggles? And don't say you don't work here because I know you do." Keep in mind, the uniform was a red shirt with the company name, and I was in a different colored t-shirt and shorts. Now, I knew exactly where the toggles were, but given his rather curt accusation I decided to mess with him. I asked if he meant the drywall kind, he rolled his eyes and said yes. So I led him, in a very roundabout way, to the electrical section and to toggle switches. He was irate at this point and said that he was gonna go ask someone who's actually competent. To which I replied, "Make sure they actually work here this time, prick." The kicker? Drywall toggles were in the same aisle I originally was in. The next story is titled I'm Not a Paramedic Though. This happened today while I was at work, and I decided to create an account to let you guys know about it. I'm a cop and was mistaken for a paramedic. I have basic first aid and have a defib in my cruiser, but that's it. Often cops and paramedics get called to the same call even if technically it's purely medical and there's nothing job specific for me to do that the paramedics can't do. Often I'll hang out for a little while longer after it's been determined I'm not really needed just in case the paramedics change their mind due to the patient getting violent or something. Of note, we have similar uniforms, but I have a red stripe down my pants, carry a gun, and I have word police in huge letters on my back and the front of my vest, while paramedics have paramedic written on them. If you're literate, and know paramedics don't carry guns, you can tell the difference. Also, if a cop tells you that they're not a paramedic, that should be a strong hint too. Today I was on scene when a kid started having some sort of medical emergency where he couldn't breathe properly. Paramedics show up, lights and sirens, and get him into the back of their ambulance. They left the lights on as they're blocking a lane. Once they get the kid in the ambulance, I'm standing outside waiting for them to head off. My cruiser was parked a couple meters from where I was standing as well. A lady comes up to us and goes, "You need to turn off those lights." And I reply with, "They aren't my lights, they're paramedics, and they're a little busy right now probably saving a life." Lady replies with, "Those lights can cause a seizure. How dare you put people in danger like that? That's so irresponsible." Well, I'm not a paramedic, I'm a cop, so they're not mine. I gestured to my vest which says in huge white letters on navy blue police. I looked around. The kid's family was standing at the other side of the ambulance and were basically the only other people there. A few people are in the area were paying no mind to us at all. And this lady herself was definitely not having a seizure in my non-medically professional medical opinion. Look, the lights are on for a reason. It's for driver safety to alert drivers that there's an ambulance in the middle of the road. You aren't having a seizure and neither is anyone else, so if you don't mind, please move along. I hate crowding at scenes. Some of this kid's family was close by and they did not need random strangers causing a commotion and adding more stress to an already stressful situation. I cannot believe how rude you are, she yells back. I'm going to complain to your boss. You can definitely tell my boss I didn't turn off ambulance lights. My badge number is XXX. If the lights are pissing you off so much you are welcome to leave. You're in a public area free for people to come and go in. Unbelievable. She stomped off after that, which was good. I haven't yet received that complaint. Probably because I'm not a paramedic. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.